So Ryan Day and Chip Kelly both looking for ways to improve that offense as we welcome in Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyeHuddle.com. Gerd, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
We heard throughout the summer from Ryan Day, it's about building a foundation. That the foundation's not going to be built in August. It's not going to be completed in September. There's still work to be done. Was that a good first layer of bricks that we saw against Akron on Saturday?
You know, I think one of the interesting things is they got better from the first half to the second half. So you had three guys making their first real starts in the interior of the offensive line. And so they were, making their way in the first half, but they get to halftime, they get to the locker room, they make their adjustments. Things go much more smoothly. I would expect that to continue into week 2. And yet we don't know that the offensive line is going to be set by week 2 or week 3 with Donovan Jackson starting left guard day to day, according to Ryan Day. And so the offensive line that you're going to have in November is not necessarily the offensive line that is even playing right now. And I don't even think they've had the first team offensive line doing much in practice because of the illnesses that they've had and some slight injuries here and there. So I think you're going to see the brick building and the brick laying continue on through September and into October. The good news is they've got a handful of games here to get things going and to build upon, because they shouldn't have really any challenges, but they still want to do well while they have these games. Like 170 yards rushing against Akron is not great. I would expect more against Western Michigan and just continue to build from there.
One of the new starters that was solid as a brick, wide receiver Jeremiah J.J. Smith. We have heard the hype for over a year at this point, and he certainly lived up to it. 2 touchdowns, close to 100 yards receiving on 6 grabs, and also overcame some things in that very first series that showed you his maturity as just an 18-year-old.
Yeah, when you look at the 6 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, he's not that far away from having 4 touchdowns in that game, because I think that first drop, that quick screen, there was a very big lane for him. And then his deep pass was 2 yards short of the end zone. So there's a realm there where he wasn't very far off from getting 4 touchdowns, which would have been a pretty decent debut. As it stands, it was already really, really impressive. And when Chip Kelly was asked on Tuesday, hey, why did you feel so comfortable targeting him like 9 times? And Chip Kelly's like, well, I've been here since March. I've seen everything that Jeremiah has done. There's no reason not to. And, whenever we talk to somebody, and I'm sure you're the same, Mark, when people ask, is all the hype real? Is it justified? Is it legit with Jeremiah Smith? And we'd say everything we've seen, everything we've heard, yes. And now everybody else gets to see it as well. And this is nice, but we've all seen brighter things in practice. And that's including the deep pass that was essentially a one-handed grab because he had his right arm was being held. So there's still very much more to come from Jeremiah Smith.
Will Howard made his Buckeye debut, had 3 touchdown passes. Now, former Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord, 4 touchdown passes for his new team, Syracuse, as they beat Ohio. And the Syracuse head coach saying maybe I should send a bottle of champagne to Ryan Day to thank him for having Kyle McCord transfer to Syracuse. But I think we saw out of Will Howard things that Kyle McCord could not do, would not do, which makes his Ohio State offense more dangerous.
Yeah, I do wonder if Ryan Day would then gift that champagne to Kansas State, just re-gift it, send it on down the line. But yeah, the ability to run, and Will Howard said afterwards, after watching the film, there were more opportunities for him to run, and maybe he might start doing that more. I don't think he needs to do it against Western Michigan. I don't think he needs to necessarily do it against Marshall, but there will be times when a nice 14-yard run is going to be very, very welcome against at Oregon on a 2nd and 8 or something like that. So I think that's going to be more of the offense down the road. But I was surprised somewhat that they were still calling runs for him. They called a Q power, quarterback power with them, and you saw the 19-yard run. So, and you saw some escapability. You saw some rollouts, the really nice completion to Emeka Ibuka early on, and I think it was the second drive to get things going. So you can see what he does when he's moving. He doesn't just have to be in the pocket, but he's also really good in the pocket. He's comfortable there, and he can just sidestep, pass rush here, pass rush there. So there's a lot to like. I think we saw quite a bit on Saturday why Ryan Day was interested in him in the portal, why Lincoln Riley was interested in the portal, because for the longest time it looked like Will Howard was going to go to USC. And so I think he showed quite a bit in this game. It's just Akron. He was 6 of 16, I think, in the first half, but I don't know that there were too many inaccurate throws there. Maybe the timing was just a little bit off, but the accuracy I was impressed with.
And when was the last time we heard an Ohio State quarterback say, I need to run the ball more? It seems like the last several quarterbacks has been trying to get them to run the ball more, but Will Howard able and willing to use his feet to do some damage as well. Ohio State defense, they also lived up to the hype. What impressed you the most out of the Silver Bullets on Saturday?
Yeah, that's a good question. I I would say Lathan Ransom, I think, is a guy that maybe people have forgotten about, especially with the addition of Caleb Downs at free safety. You forget about strong safety Lathan Ransom. And I remember, I think the last time we talked to Caleb Downs, everybody's asking about Caleb, and Caleb wants to talk about Lathan Ransom and the kind of teammate he is, the kind of player he is, the fact that nobody is talking about him. So I think Lathan Ransom showed why more people should be talking about him. I think the defensive line getting after the quarterback, we got to see the true Rushman package of 4 defensive ends playing on the field together a couple of times, and that was good. You know, Tyleek Williams, defensive tackle with 7 tackles. He's just always chasing the football. And I think everybody came out of there really, really impressed with Arvell Reese, the sophomore middle linebacker who got some time in there in place of Cody Simon. And you know, the way he played, it's going to be interesting to see how much more he plays when Cody Simon comes back, because it certainly looks like he's playing his way into a rotation of some sort.
Sometimes when college football games are played at night, it's a primetime game. It deserves the hype. Sometimes they're just played under the lights. I think Saturday, Western Michigan is just one of those under the lights games. Broncos did show some good fight against Wisconsin on their week 1 game, but there isn't a whole lot Ohio State should be worried about with Western Michigan, is there?
I think that Western Michigan game against Wisconsin was really good for Ohio State. Probably bad for Western Michigan.